So, welcome to this episode of the Dental Assistant Nation podcast, powered by IgniteDA. My name is Kevin Henry. I am the co-founder of IgniteDA, and I so appreciate you joining us today. Just going to chat with you for a few minutes, but want to remind you that you can always find this podcast via Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, now Amazon, CastBox, through drbicuspid.com. I am the editor-in-chief there as well. So certainly would love for you to become a free member of that, as well as make sure you're following IgniteDA on Facebook. So wanted to talk about something that happened over the weekend, and it was something that, was a big disappointment to me. But I want to tell you the lesson that I learned, and then let's see if we can translate that into your day. Dental assistants, I am speaking specifically to you today, because I've talked to you all over the world for so long, and I've heard your struggles. I've heard your tough days, the things that hold you back, the mindsets that hold you back some. And I want to tell you that I did something over the weekend that I failed at. I'm just going to be point honest, blank, just shoot straight from the hip with you on this one. I failed. I blew it. Okay. And let me tell you a quick story. So I live in Colorado, a beautiful part of the world, northern Colorado. I'm about 45 minutes from downtown Denver, and I'm about an hour and a half to reach the Continental Divide and get up into the Rocky Mountains up at about, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000 feet. Now, I'm originally from Oklahoma, okay? And you can probably hear a little bit of the southern drawl in my voice every once in a while, and I do say y'all. So shout out to all of you who enjoy sweet tea and saying bless your heart. But, being from Oklahoma and living there most of my life, getting to altitude and living at just under 5,000 feet is something that has been a challenge, at times. And to go double that or triple that is certainly a bigger challenge. But one of my goals since I moved here about 7 years ago, one of the biggest goals that I've had in my life is that I was someday going to climb a 14er. Now, that's what we call them here in Colorado. They are mountains that are 14,000 feet at their summit or higher. So there's a lot of 14ers here in our state. I probably should know exactly how many, but I think it's in the neighborhood of 50. One of the ones that I have always heard was, quote, easier to climb, and I'm using those air quotes here for easier, is one called Mount Quandary. It's just outside of Breckenridge, Colorado, which is somewhere that my wife and I love to go to. And for weeks I have said, you know what? I want to climb Mount Quandary. I want to climb a 14er. I want to finally accomplish that goal. And man, I was so excited because my wife and I made these plans, and we were going to get up at way before the crack of dawn, I should say. Our alarm went off at 4 o'clock, and we were on the trail by just before 5 o'clock on the way up to Mount Quandary. So you start at about 10,000 feet, and meaning you've got about 4,300 feet to go till you reach the summit, till you reach that end goal. And what climbers will always tell you is that you have to start climbing the mountain way before dawn, because you want to be up on top of the mountain and coming back down before the afternoon storms roll into Colorado, a very common thing, especially at 14,000 feet. So my wife and I made our preparations. We packed everything we needed to. We had layers. We had our food, our water. We were ready. We were prepared. We did our homework. We read through everything. And, a little bit before 5, we started hiking in pitch black. We had a flashlight, and we turned it off a couple of times just to look up at the stars, which were amazing. But by the time that dawn started breaking, we were at about 12,000 feet, which is right about where trees stop growing because it's too high for them to grow. And about that time, I started to realize that I was having a lot of trouble breathing, and it was a struggle for me to catch my breath. And I thought back to when I was a child and I had severe asthma, and it was even hospitalized a couple of times because of it. And my mom will tell you to this day that the doctor said he's always going to have a limited lung capacity. I don't remember that, but that's what the doctors told her. That's what she reminded me of after we were coming back down the mountain. So we get to about 12,000 feet, and my lungs just will not take in any oxygen. And I could see the top of the mountain. I could see where I wanted to go, But I knew in my heart my body wasn't going to get there, because I knew if I was struggling for breath at 12,000 feet, my goodness, another 1,000, 2,000 feet of climbing just wasn't going to happen. And I sat there with my wife and I almost broke into tears. It was a very emotional moment for me whenever I realized that I could see the goal where I wanted to go, but I wasn't going to get there. And I tell you, it hit me hard. I'm 51. I'll be 52 in November, and you start thinking about you've got only a certain amount of time on this earth, and that was such a goal for me to hit a 14er. But I'm sitting there, and my tears are kind of welling up in my eyes, and I said, I failed. If I don't get there, am I ever going to get there? And I was kind of wallowing in self pity for a little bit, and my wife looked at me and she said, you failed today. It doesn't mean you failed, period. And we started talking about all the things that we needed to do the next time that we were going to attempt to do it. And by the time that I stood up and looked at the summit one last time, and I could say, you know what? I'm going to beat you, and I will be up on top of you soon. I had in my head a complete change of thought process from I had been defeated to I had been defeated today. And as I walked back down the mountain, my attitude so changed because I was feeling sorry for myself. I was mad. I was, all the things that you feel whenever you don't get what you want or whenever you fail. And let's be honest, you failed, I failed, we've all failed at certain things. But what do we do whenever we can see the goal, but we know we're not going to get there? And that's where my wife's words really transformed my thoughts that day. And it's something that has stuck with me ever since we came back down the mountain. And I've thought so hard about it. And I wanted to podcast about it today and kind of share this with you because I think so many times we as human beings and you all as dental assistants, you don't get told how often that you're amazing. You don't get enough pats on the back for all the positive things that you do. And sometimes it's those moments when we don't shine the brightest and when we don't hit our goals and when we don't accomplish the mission that we tend to become a lot harder on ourselves than we are proud of ourselves when good things happen. And that's exactly what happened to me. But I realized the mindset that needed to change the minute my wife said those words. You didn't fail, you just failed today. And, we started on the way back down the mountain, and it's weird. I'm getting a little emotional about it right now just thinking about it. But, on the way back down the mountain, she and I started talking about what's it going to take next time for us to conquer that mountain. What workouts do I need to do? What do I need to ask my doctor about oxygen or inhaler or something that will help expand my lungs? What do I need to do to be better prepared for the second time? I thought I knew what I was doing. We did all the homework. We did everything we were supposed to do. We did it right. But there was one variable that we didn't take into account, and that was my lung capacity. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we think we've got everything all lined up, and then something we didn't expect jumps up and bites us. Oh, I don't know. Has that happened this year at all? A little something called COVID-19. Has that interrupted any of our plans, ruined any of our days, changed us to think about if we were really doing the right thing or not by working in this industry? The point I want to make is this. I know dental assistants, you all have struggles. I know that there are days that you wonder why you do it. I know that it has become even more of a thought with PPE and everything that has happened in the days since COVID-19 became a part of our vocabulary. But I want to encourage you this. When you fail, and you will, at something will happen that will not go according to plan. What's going to be your mindset that day? Is it that you were beaten or that you were temporarily beaten? Because there's a big difference between giving up and knowing that next time you'll win the battle. I could spout off all the stories that you hear about Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Edison and all these people in our American history who persevered over losing, persevered over failing, and where they got to. But, I think you can probably see moments in your own life, if you look back, or your friends, or your parents, or your child's, or your spouses, or whoever it is, that you can see moments where they could have given up, but they didn't. They could have waved the white flag, but they said, today I will, tomorrow I won't. And I think that's the mindset that we've got to have moving into 2021 and into this fourth quarter of this year, is that whatever has happened to us this year, personally, professionally, with our business, with our family, whatever it might be, the bad moments that you've had, the tough moments that you've already persevered through, they beat you that day, but did they beat you overall? And what plans are you making right now to make 2021 even stronger, or to make tomorrow or next week even stronger? I think we have to have the right mindset about failure. And I can tell you, I'm preaching to myself here, because that day, sitting on that mountain, kicking rocks and cussing, and thinking the world was against me because I couldn't reach the top of the summit, that was my own mindset putting me in that position. It took somebody kind of nudging me and saying, you didn't lose, you just lost today. You didn't fail, you just failed today. It took somebody saying that to me for me to kind of snap back to, hey, you're right, and start making plans for how I was going to be better next time. And maybe that's my goal for you right now. Some of you are listening to this and you need to hear those words, that you didn't fail, you just failed today. Take those to heart. Don't just slough them off and say, this is a podcast that somebody out there needs to hear right now. Somebody's in that position that I was the other day. They may not be sitting at 12,000 feet trying to climb a mountain, but they may be trying to get through something at their dental practice. They may be trying to get through something in their personal life. And I want to assure you of this. Whatever you're battling today, if it beats you today, do what you have to do to make sure it doesn't beat you tomorrow, or the day after that, or the day after that. What courses do you need to take? What skills do you need to learn? What advice do you need to grab to make sure that you're a better person, a better dental assistant, a better whatever it is, that you're better tomorrow than you were today? That's my goal. I realized walking back down the mountain that I needed to hear that, not only because of climbing a mountain, but I needed to hear it because there's a lot of things that I know I don't do perfectly. And I need to, those moments that I know I'm not doing something as well as I should, I need to step up my game. And I need to prepare a little bit more, and I need to take it a little more closely to heart. Some of you are on the top of that mountain right now. Some of you have already reached the summit of whatever you wanted to be your goal. And I admire you for that. But the good thing is there's always another summit out there to climb. And you're not always going to get to it on the first try. But it doesn't mean you come down the mountain and go, well, I'm never going to get there. It just means you're never going to get there today. So those are some thoughts that I had. Just a random moment in my life that I took a big life lesson from. And I hope that you can as well. And I want to mention this to you. Dental assistants, and I start my lectures whenever we used to have live in-person classes. I always used to start my lectures by asking all of you if anybody told you today that you were awesome, because you are. And I'm going to say that right now. Has anybody told you, you, today that you're awesome? Because you are. You're needed. You're the backbone of that practice. You're the heartbeat of that practice. You make that practice run. Your patients love you whether you're wearing a space suit of PPE or not. They love you. I know that. I've heard them talk about you. I've heard you talk about them. Don't let getting close to the top and not reaching it in whatever you're trying to do stop you from what you love to do and stop you from impacting so many lives. If you need some encouragement, you need some advice, you need to know where to go next, I'm always an email away. I needed to hear my wife's words that day, and I think somebody out there needs to hear these today, but there's more to the story, I know. There always is. And if you need to reach me, you can always reach out through the IgniteDA Facebook page. Send us a line through there. I would be happy to talk to you on that. You can reach me through kevin.henry@igniteda.net. I would be happy to talk to you there. There's a lot of good that's coming for you, for me, for all of us. But there's also going to be some heartache. There's also going to be some tough times ahead. And in those tough moments, we realize who we are. And it's our reaction to those tough moments that make it, shall we just say, a little sweeter whenever you reach that summit, right? I wish you nothing but the best. I'm here for you. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm your biggest fan. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Dental Assistant Nation podcast, powered by IgniteDA. Together, we rise.